Hey everyone, what's going on? It's No Filter, a Nintendo podcast. I'm your host, Wizrad, and this is episode 24 being recorded on February 9th, 2019. And this is going to be a pretty interesting episode here because I have a huge announcement, guys. A new Nintendo Direct coming February 2019. Huge! Everywhere! It's big! Yeah, no. Obviously, I'm not going to be doing these crazy, really kind of annoying because it's just kind of a trend, and I guess I just don't like when stuff is trending and people are just kind of half-assing videos and content by, putting a clickbait title saying February 2019 Nintendo Direct confirmed, and then having question marks, and then they expect you to go watch their videos, and it sucks because a lot of the people that I really enjoy watching on YouTube, a lot of gamers that are creating YouTube content right now, they all kind of are doing the same thing, and I just find myself more and more just skipping over all those videos that I see from people I usually enjoy watching, but then they all kind of do the exact same thing, and they all do this stupid clickbait, and it's just and everyone knows it's clickbait. It's just like annoying that they bring their content down to such a level where it just makes it seem like the content is literally, it doesn't matter what the content is as long as they have some crazy title for their video and then some stupid thumbnail, and there you go, with like their stock surprised images or whatever the case is. Yeah, so that's a great way to start off a podcast. That's a great way. Let's be super negative, but no. This is a good podcast, so I have quite a few little topics I want to go over here today. I have some games definitely I've been playing, not as much as I usually have, but I do want to go over some of my PSVR experiences so far. I got that at the end of 2018, and I've been playing it, and I haven't been able to play as many games as I want to on it. I actually have quite a few, I just want to go over some of those, but I also have some games on Switch that I've been playing recently, and I have some reviews that are going to be coming up soon after this podcast episode as well, so stay tuned for that. I also have some talks that I want to go over about the Nintendo Direct and why we didn't get one in January, and just kind of Nintendo Directs in general in Nintendo's ecosystem, of content delivery and marketing, and kind of where we're at in 2019 and where it was when it started in 2012. Anyway, let's get into that. But first thing I do want to talk about here is actually about Nintendo Switch as a customizable item, as kind of like an accessory magnet that essentially, because you have that and you can carry it around, you want to kind of deck it out with everything you can. Think of it as like your car or something like that, You want to get the nice rims or whatever. You want to get the heated seats. You want to get all this different stuff. You want to get the brushes for the windows when it's snowing outside, or you want to have driving gloves if it's cold or whatever the case is. You want to deck out your car just like you want to with your Nintendo Switch. And I kind of want to go over in my I think it's going to be in March. I'm going to have a 2-year anniversary kind of video for Nintendo Switch, and I will kind of focus on all the games I have, which, guys, literally just I have over 250 games on the Switch. Not all of them were bought from me. In fact, most of them were review codes, but a lot of those are fantastic games, and I still have a huge backlog of it, so I'll show all that, but I also want to show off all the accessories I have for the Switch and just how much I like to accessorize with it and kind of build it up to something bigger than kind of the sum of its parts kind of a thing. One thing I did want to talk about, one of the best accessories I got for the Switch was called the grip case. It was one of those first cases that came out that wrapped around the Joy-Cons and gave it a heavier, or not heavier, but a more bulky feel, so it's a lot more comfortable when you're carrying it in handheld mode. And it would it's like a hard silicone case basically that would wrap around the Switch, and then it would have hard shells that you can move, you can transfer out and in depending on the size of the shell and what you'd want to use. And it was a fantastic case. Honestly, it was one of the best Kickstarters I've ever backed. And so after that case came out, the creators of that Kickstarter also came out with this new thing called the Jump Gate dock. And and it comes with a core drive, which is what they call it. And essentially, this is a portable dock. It's very small. You can move it around. You can, and it works. It doesn't brick the system or anything like that. I've tried it. It works fantastically, and it also is uber portable because it actually has the actual meat and potatoes within the little dock thing here. It does have like kind of the sitting stand where you kind of lean the switch back, and it does fit with all cases because it has a movable little dongle thing that you can move out of the way if you have a case on it, so that if it's too thick and it's sitting onto the USB-C port there, it it'll be able to rest appropriately without it being too tight or anything like that. But yeah, the core drive is the actual meat and potatoes, and that is a very small, it's like a tiny phone size. And essentially, that's where you can plug in your HDMI, the USB-C, and all that stuff. And yeah, you can just carry that around, and that's your dock. You can hook that up to any TV out there, and it's pretty amazing. It's really something special. So I actually might leave a link in the description for you guys because I'm really impressed with it. I kind of forget what I paid for it, but I'm pretty sure it was under $50, which is amazing, especially when you think of how bulky the dock is, and yet in Canada it's like $120 for just a friggin' piece of plastic that is the dock. It's insane. But yeah, so this was a fantastic pickup, and again, if that's another thing that you guys want accessories or switches with, I highly recommend it. But following that, let's get into some of the games I've been playing recently. I'm only going to go over 5 games here. Again, I have some reviews coming out later, but first game I want to talk about, which is a very interesting story for me, is Airheart for Nintendo Switch. So Airheart, I believe, was on Steam last year, and yeah, so it's finally out on Nintendo Switch, and it is a roguelike top-down shooting game, but it's all airplane based. So it is top down, but essentially the story goes, you're in like a station, I guess, essentially. I'm not really going to go crazy in the story. It's not like a crazy story. It is kind of interesting. It's kind of playing off of Amelia Earhart and how there's like a village, and it's like a sky village, and people want to fly as high up as they can, but the higher you go, the more enemies are kind of there, and you wonder what's beyond the clouds kind of thing. What's on like the highest level? How high can you get, and what is up there? What is being protected? And it's kind of an interesting story. It has a cool lore, but again, the main premise is essentially that you're at a station where everyone's living, and essentially you have to go up to different levels. There's different seasons basically for each level, or each few levels, but each level, you're getting higher and higher, and the higher and higher you get, the more you can see down below, right? So you're on like the same plane of field. Like picture, like a map in like an RTS game, like you have a square map. That map is then being, extruded by many levels, going up, 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 and up. And every time you go up to a higher level, you're then looking down on that level you were just on before. And it looks really gorgeous. The very bright colors and the fluidity of it all, and just the design is really pretty. However, it does get a little bit repetitious. It doesn't look too vastly different when you're moving from different seasons or anything like that. And it's just not that much variety in that way. And a lot of the enemies are pretty similar and stuff like that, but it's got a pretty interesting kind of mechanic like that, where you're going higher and higher, and because it is a roguelike, this is a little different twist on the roguelike genre, and I really, really enjoy this, where essentially if you're about to die, you can then dive down, back down to your station to repair your plane, get upgrades and all that stuff, and if you do that, you won't restart essentially by losing all your upgrades or anything like that, but you will start from the bottom level, but you can fly up to the other levels relatively quickly. There's no like limit to like the enemies you have to kill. You just have to find a port, make sure it's cleared out the enemies around that port, and then you can fly up to the next level. It's very interesting. But essentially, if you're about to die, you then start diving down. And you have to go through all the previous levels you were on. So all these islands and little islets that are there, you have to make sure you're dodging them so that you can land into your dock and save your ship and all the upgrades. If you do get shot down, you will start falling, and there's a chance that you might be able to survive without everything completely being destroyed, but more often than not, if you get shot down, you're going to run into something and you're not going to have a chance to land on the dock unless you're positioned perfectly that you're actually going to land on it. It's very difficult, and yeah, I like this twist in the roguelike genre. It's really quite interesting. And yeah, so the combat, it's not good with the Joy-Cons. I really don't like the range of motion with the actual Joy-Con joysticks. It's just really not that good. But once you have like the Pro controller or a different type of controller, like an 8-bit Do controller or something, it's really pretty amazing. The actual combat is really good. It has a harpoon where you can basically hook onto different enemies and then you can shoot them while you're pulling them along. There's a lot of different weapons you can have. You can upgrade your plane to different planes, different, speed, agility, all that kind of stuff. And it's just a lot of fun. And one thing I definitely want to warn people about here, I believe the developers are addressing this, but I did get in a sort of game-breaking bug. It wouldn't really stop me, but it would crash after every time I tried to dive down myself. So essentially, again, like I'm about to die, I'm on like a higher level, I try to dive down to go to the port so that I can save all my upgrades and my money and then get some new upgrades and stuff like that. And as of whenever I'm past the autumn level, which is the second set of levels, it would always crash as soon as I get down to port, right? And the thing is, it would save everything that I had there when I opened up the game again, but it was really annoying having to do that. So I spoke with the developers, and they actually sent me some of the cheat codes that they have for the game, and it completely blew the game open for me. It was pretty amazing to see that. Like, I got pretty far in the game myself. It definitely gets really difficult. And if I didn't have the cheat codes, there's no way I was going to beat the game. But I did, and I actually went through the entire game, beat it. I had invincibility. I had all the weapons unlocked. I had all this kind of stuff. It was really kind of fun, and yeah, no, I had a lot of fun with it like that. But again, like even before that, I had a lot of fun. Just I would definitely warn you guys about that. I was going to do a full review, but because of that issue, I felt like I'm just going to put that into the podcast episode here and just kind of put this as number one, because I definitely did enjoy the game, but just be careful about that kind of bug that they have there. I'm not sure if it was widespread. It doesn't seem like it is, but they were able to replicate what I did. And they are aware, so I imagine that an update should be coming very soon, if not already. Yeah, so that's my opinions on Airheart. A very fun roguelike game. I love the changes in the genre, and I haven't played anything quite like it before, so that's definitely a recommend for me. Next game, another recommend for me, is FutureGrind, and this is a game kind of arcadey, but I would most recommend this to people who enjoy the games like Ollie Ollie or like Pumped Up BMX and stuff like that. It's kind of like an extreme sport game, but it's also kind of like rhythm and timing based. Essentially, you're on a bike that has two different wheels. One would be one color, one would be another, and you're going along a track, in like a 3D circle kind of a thing, and you have to jump onto different colored track rails, and the color rail that your wheel is, it has to match the one on the track, and you're basically flipping from one side of the bike to the other, because again the bike essentially has one tire on the bottom, one on the top, and you're just spinning it so that the bottom tire would be landing wherever. So where it comes to be like Ollie Ollie is, you'll go through different levels, it'll be like surviving that level, but then it'll increase to something like, get a 25-meter grind, under rail grind. So essentially, like, you have to jump up and hook your top wheel on to the top of a different rail, and you'd be hanging from that rail for like 25 meters or something like that. There's a lot of different ways you can grind and kind of go through these levels, and it's really kind of addicting. Playing through this, especially because it kind of brings you in nicely and calmly, but it really does ramp up as you play, but it never feels unfair. It's incredibly tight, a lot of fun. And again, if you're a fan of games like Ollie Ollie or Pumped Up BMX or Trials Fusions, I'd probably say, or like the Trials games, I think this is definitely one that you want to look out for. It really is a lot of fun. Another recommend for me for sure. But again, if you're into those type of games, again, if you're not really into that type of stuff, you're probably not going to care for this as much. It is just kind of going through the levels. They do have like an interesting kind of story mechanic kind of going through. It's kind of interesting. It's like you're talking to like the developers almost, but like in a fictional like set of developers as you're going through like the different levels. But it's really just kind of text over the level selection. It's nothing like too crazy. It is just basically an arcade fun game just for you to play on your downtime, and yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun. Perfect for a portable system like the Switch. I don't know if it's on other platforms right now, but yeah, I don't think this would really lend as well to just like sitting on a couch kind of experience. Next game, and another really good game, but this is more multiplayer focused, is called At Sundown. So At Sundown, as kind of the name sort of entails, is a top-down action shooting game, but it's multiplayer focused. The big hook for this game, though, is that you are basically invisible when you're playing. Unless you shoot a weapon, you won't be seen unless you're, because everything is very dark, unless you're shown up by light. So say there's a level with a train going through with lights on it. Unless you're hiding behind a wall, the lights might hit you, but if you are hiding behind a wall, someone might not be able to see you. If you then see that person, you try to shoot them, they'll see, where your muzzle just like shot and like the burst there, and they'll see where you are, and they'll try to track you down again. But again, like even you yourself, you can't see where you are in the map. You just have to kind of judge where you are based on where you shot something, where you feel like a little bit of rumble if you hit into a wall or something like that. But again, like unless you run into something with light, you can't be seen, they can't see you, and it's definitely a very interesting mechanic. It kind of plays to that mechanic they had in that Nintendo Land game. I think it was like the Luigi's Mansion Nintendo Land game on Wii U. It's really interesting because, again, like you're playing and you don't necessarily see where you are, but you're trying to judge like where the other person is and where you can position yourself to surprise them so you can get the first shot off. Because a lot of these shots, if you get shot, you're done, right? And there's a set amount of lives per match. And it's a lot of fun playing multiplayer. I had a lot of fun playing with my brother and my sister. We played that one weekend when I was back at my parents' place, and it's a lot of fun. It does have a single player campaign as well. It kind of goes through the basics of everything, but it is mainly for a multiplayer game. It does have online multiplayer as well, which does work. I did have a few matches of that as well. And as far as multiplayer games go, if you want like a quick pickup play, play for a few, like a 20-30 minutes with some friends, I definitely think you can do worse than At Sundown. It's definitely a game worthy of taking a look at. It's it's got the unique hook. It's controlled well, and I definitely suggest that if you're looking for a game like that. Next game is Heroes Trials, which I'll be honest, I've barely played because as soon as I started it up, it was just not great. I didn't really ask for this game. It was just kind of sent to me, and kind of going through it, it's very basic, nothing of a story, fantasy based, but essentially just essentially you're just like a sword wielding kid, but then you can also switch characters in between that and like a different sort of long range weapon kind of a character. And essentially you're just kind of going through the game, hacking and slashing, action adventure. It's just not really good, guys. Like honestly, like I played it for maybe half an hour. And like kind of going through it, I kind of went through it looks okay, I kind of went through a town. They told me where I had to go. I went to a dungeon, and in that dungeon you had some of the the block puzzles where you have to put something on a switch. You open the door, and then there's all these the spiders that come and attack you, and then you're trying to swing your sword at them, and it's just not, it doesn't feel good. It's not it seems like it was a game that would have been released on the PC years ago, like maybe decades ago. I don't know. It just does not feel good. It doesn't look great. Nothing special about it whatsoever. I'm so tired of like the shoehorned in like just basic fantasy settings in games where like they don't even try to have a story with it. Like you can't just have a game in like a fantasy setting without having some sort of world lore or like interesting storytelling behind it. Like because this game could have been literally any game. It could have been a beat 'em up with just fists if they wanted to. Like there's nothing. It's just an aesthetic that doesn't work. It just does not work. It's not a game I would recommend really. Anyway, sorry about that one. Definitely not worth a look. Next game is called Iron Cryptical, and this is an okay game. It's okay in some ways. It is basically a roguelike game where if you die, you're starting from the start again, which again there's a ton of these, and this one doesn't do anything special. I guess it does have kind of a choose your own path thing, but like it really doesn't matter what path you choose. Everything's random anyway. You'll have like it'll look like kind of like a tree tournament kind of a thing, and you'll be choosing your path whether you go up or down, or right, up or down, and you'll be going through the different levels. And it's just, you go through them, then you move on to the next level that might look a little different with slightly different enemies, but everything's so small, and all it is essentially you're like a knight picture, like from Ghosts and Goblins. It actually looks very much kind of like that, and you're just in a top-down view, pixel art, 2D top-down, nothing special whatsoever, and you're just aiming with the right trigger, shooting, throwing little axes at people, and you go into a level, it waits a couple seconds, like 30 enemies pop up, you kill them all in that room, you collect their items, and you get out of there before these like bigger enemies kind of come at you, and they're undefeatable, and you just have to go to the next level. It does help that keeps pushing the game along, but yeah, it's just the actual combat and stuff, there's just nothing special about it. Like, it's not necessarily like bad or anything like that. It's just there's so much better top-down shooter type games that I've seen on the Switch, or just, any system really, that this one is just kind of a okay game. Again, it seems like it's like a old Steam game from like 10 years ago or something like that. It's unique, I'll just say that. It's unique in the fact that I don't think I've seen a game quite like this on the Switch, where it's just like so basic with this, or at least I haven't played any like it. Like it's its own thing where it kind of blends in like the Ghosts and Goblins and kind of stuff like that. But it's just the same top-down kind of, move one direction, shoot in the other direction. Nothing special about it. They do have some bosses. Again, nothing special. You just have to kind of avoid their attacks, shoot at them until they're dead. Not too hard or anything like that. And really, like, I found like the only times I was dying is when I would just kind of lose focus and just kind of lose interest, and then I just stop paying attention, and that's when I start getting hit and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just, another roguelike game that isn't too amazing, but it's not like terrible. So maybe if you're looking for this, if it piques your interest, maybe take a look. But personally, I would not really suggest this. I feel like there's a lot better different top-down roguelike games out there, especially on the Switch. So that's it for the Switch games. But I do want to talk briefly about the PSVR. So I got that on Boxing Day or Boxing Week of 2018. And so it was on sale for very cheap. But some of the games I have been playing, I just beat Astrobot, actually, which is, everyone kind of says that that's one of the flagship games. People were trying to say it's like, the Super Mario 64 of VR. And while I do see that comparison in some ways with it being, I don't know, every level seems like something new is kind of coming about. And that in that aspect, I can see it being compared to Mario 64 in terms of like the importance of the industry and like the actual game itself. Maybe not so much. The actual game itself is more of a collectathon than anything. The combat could have literally been not there, and it would have not really changed much at all, other than not having some of these cool boss battles. But it's just how they place yourself into the game is what really made it interesting. At all times in the game, you're actually playing as a robot falling behind, basically on a track behind the Astrobot, and you can move the Astrobot in front of you, behind you, all throughout this fully 3D level that you're completely immersed in. There's always a digital representation of the DualShock controller in front of you, so you actually feel like you're in the game, because like the controller that you're moving around in front of you in your hands, you see it out in the game world being moved around in front of you as well. So it really does place yourself in there. You'll go by reflections of you or cameras looking at you with like a feed being displayed in front of you, and you'll see that you are a robot with like this PSVR visor there. It's really cool in how they place you into the world, and it really does feel like you're in there. You can kind of peek around corners, move ahead, move backward. Move your head backward. You can't actually move backward, which is kind of an annoyance in the game, I found. But like it's collectathon. You got to go find 8 of the different Astrobots that have been spread out throughout the world. Again, the story is just kind of basic. All these Astrobots are on a ship. They got attacked, and they all got thrown around. They all fell onto 5 different worlds. You have to go find them, save them, and defeat the baddies. The really interesting thing for this game, though, is it seems like almost every other level or every 3 levels, there's something that I've never seen in games before, something I've never experienced before, and that's why this game is one of the best games on the VR for sure right now. Is that, again, you're playing through this and you're getting these different experiences that I've never experienced before in a video game. You know, it'll be different things like, you know, like you're going up along the rail and all of a sudden there's like a wall in front of you, and oh shit, I have to jab my head at the wall to break open the wall for something. You know, like I've never experienced something like that before. Or you know, or on the DualShock pad, you get a new weapon that you can have where it's like shooting water out of it, and you can literally shoot the water up completely vertically, look up with your head, and see the water drop down onto your visor and your goggles. You know what I mean? Like all these really cool little aspects that they have in here. You know, there's a ton of them. I didn't like list them all out, but like again, it seemed like almost every other world there's something really truly unique and interesting that I've never seen before. You know, there are some duds in between that are just like, okay, I've seen this, you know, 10 times already, but there's always, you know, around the corner, there's always going to be something new and exciting again. And that's what truly makes Astrobot fantastic. And, you know, like if I had to give like a rating for it, you know, this would be like a straight up 9 out of 10. But, you know, I don't really like to give ratings. But yeah, this is definitely a recommend. If you have a VR, definitely pick up Astrobot. It's pretty amazing. Some of the other games I've been playing on it, I actually have quite a few. You know, I have the Doom VFR I haven't played yet. I have Borderlands 2 VR, haven't played that. I do have Beat Saber, which is a crazy rhythm action game. Action as in it's rhythm. You have these boxes that are coming at you with arrows telling you the direction that you have to slice. You have 2 swords in your hand, which are the PS Move controllers, and it's in full 1-to-1. You're completely like into this world, and you're you're cutting these boxes as if like you're like a Jedi or something as they come at you in tune in the rhythm of the music, and it's really a lot of fun. It'll give you a full out workout too, man. Some of these levels are insane, and yeah, it's definitely one of the best VR games out there as well. It's pretty amazing. I'm not the biggest fan of all the music. It does get catchy at sometimes, but you know, it'd be nice if they had some different mixes in there and threw up some different visuals at times for like different type of music. It's definitely, it kind of just gets tiresome when you're in that kind of world for too long. Whereas again, like a game like Astrobot, you're going through so many different looking environments. It's a breath of fresh air when you're actually in there. What else do I have? Oh, by the way, I do have Red Dead Redemption 2, so I'll be playing that very soon. So you guys will have some thoughts about that soon. But some of the other games I have been playing were that Until Dawn game. I got it with PS Plus. I forget what the game's called right now, but it was the Until Dawn, like a separate side game where it's basically like you're going through like an arcade, not an arcade, or kind of like an arcade, but you know, like one of those like Disney attractions where you're like, you know, shooting out of the ride. So essentially you're on like a train track and all these killer clowns are coming at you and you're attacking them, right? And you're shooting with your guns. You have 2 guns in your hand, the 2 move controllers, and it feels completely 1-to-1, really cool. Pretty scary at times, and yeah, that's a lot of fun. I played some demos, like the Danganronpa trial demo thing, which was really cool because like they actually brought you like you're in the trial. It made you go through an assassin, you know, and a murder and assassination thing, which is pretty interesting for Monokuma. That's pretty cool. I watched The Crow, which was a interactive movie, I guess you'd say. I think it was like maybe half an hour. It had like John Legend as like the singer and stuff, and yeah, that was just like a free movie, I guess you'd call it. And you know, it was kind of lighthearted and nice. It was pretty interesting. You know, I bought games like the Eagle the Flight, which I bought a whole bunch of VR games on the during the winter sales, and I used my PS Plus subscription, so I got a lot cheaper as well. You know, I have a ton of them. I have like Gunjack. I have PlayStation VR Worlds, which had the heist and all those games, and like the luge game where you're going through like the mountains and like the roads and stuff and avoiding cars while you're going down the hill and trying to get there as soon as you can. I played like the deep sea stuff where, you know, you're in like a cage with a shark coming and attacking and stuff like that. Yeah, no, yeah, it's been a lot of fun playing these games, and I have a whole bunch more. Again, I'm not listing you all of them yet, but I have a whole bunch more I still have to play, and I'm pretty excited about it. One thing I am finding, I've been having some pretty bad headaches recently. I don't really get migraines or anything like that. I just haven't been feeling like too well the last few weeks. So, playing in the VR, like I do get a headache after a little while, right? So I have to be cautious with it. And if I already have a headache, I can't go in there playing it. So, yeah, so that's one thing I have to look out for. One game I am planning on playing actually this weekend is Moss, which came with my VR. I got Astrobot and Moss together, and that looks really cool. It's like that. You're like a little action hero mouse. It reminds me of a Zelda game, for example, and it seems like it's similar to Astrobot, whereas like you're kind of in the world, or at least kind of looking at it like a diorama, and then the camera angle changes as you move the mouse through it, and it looks pretty interesting so far. So yeah, looking forward to really jump into that. And yeah, no, PSVR so far, really enjoying it. This is definitely opening my eyes to whether VR will be the future of gaming. I'm gonna have to see how they improve the technology where maybe it doesn't actually cause anyone to have headaches or anything. It does get pretty like tiresome if you just want to sit down and play a game and relax back. I see why people wouldn't want to do this. I found it a little different with Wii, because like other than at least like with the Wii, when you're playing with Wii remotes and stuff like that, a lot of the time the games were just like literally pointing, so like that wasn't really using much energy, whereas this, like, you're staying attentive, not really leaning back, head, the relatively heavy headset on your head and stuff like that. I find your neck might be a little bit weird because you don't want to have to turn around when you're sitting on like a couch or something like that. It kind of gets tiresome with that, and I know that a lot of people have issues with VR, so I really love this experience. I would love to see Nintendo's take on VR. I think that would be something truly amazing. I feel like Sony definitely tapped into it with Astrobot, but I don't think I've seen too many other games that have really tapped into it like that yet. But again, I haven't played too many. I still have like the Insurgents, I have the Persistence, I have a lot of these other games ready to play, and again, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, so those are the PSVR games I've been playing recently, and I'm definitely going to have some more to talk about it in a later video. So for this next segment, I'm going to be talking about Nintendo Directs, and where are we at? 2019, February, where's the first 2019 Nintendo Direct? Sorry if you hear that in the background, it actually is pretty loud. This might be pretty bad for us actually, or for you guys to listen to. I have a kettle going on there. I feel like hot chocolate for some reason, so yeah, I'm making some. Anyway, yeah, so Nintendo Direct 2019, where is it? I've been one of the skeptics for 2019 Nintendo for a little while. 2018 was pretty lackluster Nintendo first party wise. I don't think anyone can really go against that. A lot of people will try to say that it's fine, but no, like we all knew Nintendo had their backs against a wall when Switch came out, and that's what gave us 2017, one of the best years I've ever seen in gaming. In fact, I'm probably going to have a video about that soon separately. But 2018 came, they had some games come out for sure. They had Octopath, Mario Tennis Aces is pretty good, and stuff like that, but was it really that amazing? No, we got ports everywhere, we got games that were kind of just the half-assed kind of efforts that were thrown in there, no ambitious titles, nothing really too crazy. And that's what 2018 was. So, as any rational fan of a company, especially a video game company, would expect, I'm expecting 2019 to be significantly better than 2018. It had a low point there, hoping for something big in 2019, a ton of games. And again, we have games announced. We have Animal Crossing, Luigi's Mansion, that new Pokemon, Bayonetta, Yoshi, all that kind of stuff. But where is the excitement? Where is the build up here? Where are the actual games coming out? Where's the Fire Emblem? Like, we don't know any of the dates. So again, we were all expecting a Direct in January because it seemed like the last couple of years that's what they were doing, and it makes sense, after the big marketing push for the holidays, they start off the new year with some announcements, get people excited for the future, keep the talk and the hype going. Obviously, Nintendo Switch doesn't need too much of that for just general sales, but if Nintendo starts being comfy again in these kind of situations, it's going to be like like the Wii U all over again. Maybe not in terms of sales, but in terms of games output. We need Nintendo to feel like their back's against the wall constantly. They can't sit and rest on their laurels here. And I know this is, I'm talking about Nintendo Directs here, and I know that this is going, much bigger than what, I'd be wanting or expecting, or, I just know that with how they direct the Nintendo Directs, we know that that's when they want to have a different marketing push, or they want to release some different info. So the fact that we don't have anything coming here, what's going to happen over the next few months other than Yoshi? Which, again, Yoshi's a great game that I'm looking forward to. It's going to be my first Yoshi game in a long time. It's just not anything too terribly exciting. And if that's in March, then that means the first 3 months of 2019 we only got one game from Nintendo. That's not enough. That really isn't. As much as Nintendo feels like Switch is just performing so well, they're still not a market leader. They're still not as big as these other companies are. They're not capturing as much games and third-party companies as these other companies do, and just Nintendo needs to do better. Even if they're performing, again, sales-wise, it's fine, but they need to do better on their fans, for us, because this just isn't acceptable. What 2018 was for the fans that have been there through the Wii U, it just isn't acceptable. Again, I'm not saying they didn't have great games come out. I'm not saying that all these other games that are coming out don't matter, because again, I love indie games. I love seeing some third-party games there, even though most of them are just ports. They need to do better. And it can't just be, we can't sit on for months just getting a Wii U port and nothing special or unique or exciting. It's going to kill the momentum of the Switch. It's going to kill people's thoughts and goodwill towards Nintendo right now. That they need to keep going. They need to... anyway, no Nintendo Direct in January. I'm expecting one in February. Obviously, we have all these stupid videos from people saying, "Oh, there's a rumor again." Or maybe they're just sitting back in their fucking house thinking, "Shit, what other video can I do on Nintendo? There's nothing coming out." Okay, let's just talk about a fake rumor about a Nintendo Direct coming out. Ha ha ha. It's just so annoying this whole turnaround for this cycle that they have. But anyway, I kind of want to get into what Nintendo Directs are and what they were meant to be. And what I've been doing recently, just in some off time and stuff like that, before I go to bed and stuff like that, I might be watching some videos. And what I was doing is I went through the Nintendo Directs playlist on Nintendo's YouTube channel. And what I was doing is I was going through all these Nintendo Directs, starting from the very first one in 2011, at the end of 2011, which I almost don't even consider much of an actual Nintendo Direct. It seemed like it really started when Iwata was included, which was in 2012. But Reggie Fils-Aimé started off. He just had his own little talk, and that's pretty much it. Talked about a few games that were coming out, 7 minutes, and there you go. But essentially what I've been doing is I've been watching all these, and I've been marking out key points in each one, and then I'm going to have multiple videos later on about what were the best Nintendo Directs of all time, and what were some of the best announcements in each one. And I think it'd be a really fun top 10 list kind of thing to have as a video. And it's been a lot of fun going back and watching these and seeing how Directs have developed over the years, and seeing Iwata again, which is really cool. And also seeing some of the bad experiences of Nintendo Directs where they end up kind of talking about the same games 4 Directs in a row, kind of a thing. But yeah, Nintendo Directs back then, 2011 through 2012, they were every, 4 or 5 months kind of thing, they have them. But then as soon as the end of 2012 and the going through all of 2013, Nintendo Directs came almost monthly. It was insane. So they have one here in October 25th, November 27th, December 5th, January 8th, January 23rd, February 14th. Then this is the biggest jump in Directs for those last 6 or 7 Directs, from February 14th through till April 17th. So only 2 months. And that was the biggest jump. Then they have one in May. Then they have Direct in June. A bunch of little mini Directs, a ton of them. And then one in July, then August. Multiple in August, September, October, November, December. It was a ton of them. And then they got into 2014, and they kind of continued the same way, but they did split them up a little more separately. And then again, they kind of move on through up until where we are now, where, obviously with Iwata's passing, directs definitely slowed down when they were waiting up until the Switch was announced in 2017. Leading up to it, they had, less and less, obviously, less and less games to really show people. It was an interesting time, and I definitely think that they did what they could with the directs after Iwata passed away. And now, with the Switch, with them really mainly focusing on just pushing the Switch, they've definitely dispersed the directs into a little less frequency. They still definitely had quite a few of them. It would seem like it would be maybe like every 3 months, sometimes 4 months, but it doesn't seem like they're really set to any schedule, and they're only going to release them when they can. But I do think the directs have this weird toxic kind of, mentality around them now, with a lot of people that look forward to directs where they're literally just there for the hype. And I love the hype. I'll rewatch reaction videos of directs and announcements all the time. I really love that. It really is just very exciting to me. But when I see that so many people are only looking forward to directs, and they'll watch all these directs and they'll go back to them, but they're really only caring about the hype of the games. I don't see them talking about the games when they come out, or really talking about them even after the directs. It's either people are saying, oh, that was a great direct, how do you compare it to the other directs? They'll not actually talk about the games. Or, they'll say, oh, that was terrible to direct, when's the next one? You know what I mean? Like, it's just about the hype and the announcements, that no one's actually focusing on the games as much as what past Nintendo Directs were trying to do. So I honestly have a big worry that Nintendo's going to get rid of Directs altogether. They have their platforms like Twitters and all that stuff to release videos and announcements, like they did with, Yoshi's Crafted World recently. They have stuff like that where, again, it's not fun for us. It doesn't get the hype. It doesn't get like reactions or anything like that. It doesn't do anything like that. It doesn't make it like an event that's really special for gamers. But maybe it's just better to do that in Nintendo's mind, so they don't have any bad, mind share with fans, after everything gets going, and they just realize, hey, if we have a direct and it doesn't show some big brand new game, then people are going to say all the rest of the games suck and they won't pay attention. Maybe that's not something what Nintendo doesn't want to have to deal with. So that's kind of my worry with Nintendo Directs. I don't think they're going to go away, this year or next year, but looking down the road, I wonder if they're going to switch up how they do these. We already see Sony dropping out of E3, and they have like the PlayStation Experience or whatever, and maybe Tokyo Game Show where they show stuff, but people are already reducing the amount of content that they show to people, and at least how many times they do. Nintendo really revolutionized everything. I still remember back in the day when people were hating on Nintendo for doing Nintendo Directs instead of like an E3 presentation, but look at where we are now. Just imagine if, like, we're spoiled, you know what I mean? Like, imagine if we were just like, as Nintendo fans, if Nintendo was just like Sony or Microsoft. Even Microsoft now has their Xbox kind of keynote thing, but they don't really have much games, so it's not really as exciting. But, imagine if Sony was like Nintendo, or if Nintendo was like Sony, and we only did the one E3 event and maybe at like the Tokyo Game Show, and that's pretty much it. Where's the fun in that? We've been getting spoiled since 2011 for like 8 years. 8 friggin' years, by the way, of Nintendo Directs. Announcements every few months, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of fun for us, and I don't want to see it go away, but I do feel like it's kind of changed how consumers think of what games come out and how monumentous some occasions are when a game is announced, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm sure I'm just rambling about random stuff, but again, I am kind of worried about Nintendo Directs now. I do expect that we'll get one sometime, maybe in February, maybe in March, who knows, but it just doesn't bode well for me when I think, okay, Nintendo has Directs to announce games. They haven't announced any game dates really other than Yoshi for 2019, and we're already in February. Where are the announcements? Where are the games coming? You know what I mean? Like, again, we're getting fantastic indie games, the best ones out there, a lot of them. It's really fantastic, but you can only sustain yourself so much on that stuff. We need some big third-party games. Where are the original big third-party games? We can't just keep getting ports of fucking 5-10-year-old games. like, I can appreciate that too, but we need some different, new, fresh games in there. It can't just be the next Mario Party. You know, it can't just be, you know, Skyrim. It has to be something new and special, like a Mario and Rabbids or like an Octopath Traveler. We need more of those games. And not just that, we need more Nintendo first-party games. They have, again, I've been saying this for years now, but they have so much money and they have the best developers in the world. The fact that they can't open up 2 or 3 more internal development studios or second-party studios or whatever the case is beyond me. They make money off their software. They have these evergreen titles, and if they had 1 or 2 more every year, not only would they be happy and we would be happy as fans, their investors would be happy. I just don't understand Nintendo here, that they limit themselves with the amount of games they can release. They know that they're not going to get the third-party support like these other companies do. Like, look at 2019 so far. There's Resident Evil 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 on the on the PS4 and the Xbox One. Nintendo released jack shit as far as big games. They had No More Heroes, but that's not a big game. Even though as much as I love it and that's a big game for me, in general, that's not a big game. So it's really, it's just frustrating for me watching Nintendo and seeing these opportunities slip away. You know, like why didn't the Switch have a giant Nintendo first party game out in January? You know what I mean? Why didn't they have that? Why couldn't they have that? Are they aching for money and they just can't afford to do it? They can't have another few studios so they can pump out games at a more frequent basis? No, I don't know. It's just not reassuring to me when I'm seeing how somewhat terrible 2018 was first party wise for Nintendo, and then seeing 2019 already into February with no release dates. You know? I don't know. Hopefully you guys don't think this is just, you know, too much complaining about it, but this does genuinely worry me. And, you know, I anticipate a new Direct, and again, I'm looking forward to it as I always do, but Nintendo really needs to step up here. You know, companies always do best when their back's against a wall, but here with Nintendo now, they just aren't doing that. They don't have that push behind them right now. At least it doesn't seem that way. Maybe again, just their development times and cycles. Maybe they did overload 2017 with way too many games there. You know, maybe they should have pushed Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to like a February 2018 and then move everything else so that filled up a little bit more. I don't know. What do you guys think though? You know, again, I'm going to have a video about like the top 10 Nintendo Directs of all time, and I'm going to have some of the best announcements at Directs and stuff like that, and kind of a video going about that. But what do you guys think about this whole situation with 2019 Nintendo and how they haven't had a Direct yet? Again, like, it's not like they owe us anything like that, but as far as seeing from a corporate perspective how that's their big marketing pushes for games and for the ecosystem of the Nintendo Switch right now, and not seeing that, it's worrisome. But anyways, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this podcast, episode number 24. I'm your host, Wizrad, and again, if you like these videos, please, you know, obviously drop a like and stuff like that. But, you know, follow me on Twitter and stuff. You know, you'll see that I post a lot of screenshots and videos from games that I've been playing. Let me know what you guys think about those. You know, I definitely would appreciate that. I want to get my Twitter a little bit more active and a few more followers than I usually do in 2019. So I think that'd be a great goal to set for myself. So anyways, guys, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all next time.